three themes that I think we highlighted there, and we'll probably dive into them a little bit more, is really climate was the first one.
Yeah.
And obviously, given the frequency and severity of storms, the entire industry is going to have to come together around, what insurance is going to be available, what do coverages look like, how do things evolve to be able to still provide insurance for properties that are in risky areas.
Yeah.
And so the industry, again, no single carrier can solve it, to your point, and we you just have to collectively come together. And then we talked about talent, and so that, I think, at a macro level is we have an aging workforce across all carriers. We have not done as good a job as recruiting new talent into the industry, and maybe especially in claims, where if you go to the risk management schools, people want to be an underwriter, they want to be in the sales side of the business, or risk management. And claims, we have a really good story to tell, and collectively we've just done a bad job at it. Because there's a nobility to what we do as claims adjusters, that we are the moment of truth. When somebody sells an intangible insurance product, what you're selling is being able to deliver on a claim. And it's a pretty powerful thing. I've always found the nobility in it, that we're putting people's lives back together. In our case, we're helping businesses get back on their feet, following a natural disaster, to go back to climate. Getting a business up and running actually gets people back to work in that community, and gets that normalcy involved. So I think it's something you can be really proud of at the end of the day when you're in this line of work. And so for us, how do you recruit new people in? I think how do you think about how do we get more diversity into the insurance industry as a whole, and claims is no different. And so thinking about different partnerships, and where do you go find talent, and then how do we tell our story that this is a really neat industry, and it's every day is different. There's no monotony of the day, because you get new challenges, new things to figure out each and every day.
So those are two.
And then the final one is probably the biggest one. And that's really around social inflation. And I know that term gets used a lot, but it's a combination with nuclear verdicts. It's I think the changing of the demographics in the U.S. and the jury pools, and the scene of escalating verdicts on cases against individuals and corporations, and where there's a general disdain towards corporate America. And when a corporation has a loss, the plaintiff bar has done a really good job of creating some anger against a client, and it's returning verdicts that are just far in excess of what we've ever seen in the industry. And it's penalizing these corporations, and that's the tactic. It's to, the only way you're going to hurt a corporation is through their P&L, and return a big number. But then that corporation, it ultimately gets passed back to consumers. It's in the products and services. And so we pay more for things, and it's that part is obviously a very big component. And I think what the plaintiff bar has done over the last 20, 30 years, they've been more coordinated. They share best practices with each other. When one plaintiff attorney beats a carrier in a certain venue, they tend to go share that with their friends. And we in the insurance industry have historically just treated it. It's our little pie. We're going to deal with our cases, and we don't share best practices of how we've won. And so we, I think, have to take a page out of their playbook and work together to, what worked there, and push back. How do we limit some of the tactics that they use in courts? How do we, when you're in voir dire, looking at jurors, what are the questions to ask? What are to be aware of what the plaintiff is laying those breadcrumbs down for them to trigger at a later point in the trial, or through motions in limine and things like that, of what can we prevent getting into the case that is inflammatory, because you're taking a simple accident and putting this, trying to create a corporate villain. And in most cases, the plaintiff bar has done a really good job. And so our job is to prepare our customers for those events. And so if they have one of those situations, that we're going to hire the best counsel that we can get, help them prepare. And then kind of more even upstream is, we know the tactics that are happening is working with our risk management. That corporations need to think about their safety protocols and their, every component of their life cycles, to prevent some of those gaps so that when they do end up in a situation where they have had a loss, that they're in a better defensible position. Hi, I'm Keith Daly, Chief Claims Officer for Zurich North America, and this is the future of insurance.